welcome to the Liberty Insider. This is a program bringing you news, views, information, discussion, and I believe deep insights on occasion into religious liberty events in the United States, but around the world as well. My guest on the program is an imam from Chino, California. Welcome.
Thank you very much, my friend.
And I think of your last name, Nasir, but it's...
Iman Schamshad A.Nasir.
Schamshad A.Nasir.
Yes.
This is a great privilege to talk to you, and you've got some, obviously, your expertise is Islamic theology, particularly the Ahmadiyya community that you belong to. Let's look far afield. You wrote an article for Liberty magazine a while back on a news event where the head cleric in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, Mufti,
yeah,
which is the theologian, right?
Right.
The spiritual leader and a theological expert, he got up there in the mosque and in an incredible diatribe said that all of the non-Muslim churches or structures should be torn down. Wasn't that what he said? Something to that effect.
Yes, we were the people, Ahmadiyya Muslim community also condemned this of his statement, because although he has a great and grand title like Mufti in Saudi Arabia, Mecca, but the teaching or the verdict, fatwa in Arabic, which he gave was not right at all. It does not match with the teaching of the Prophet of Islam and teaching of the Holy Quran. And because the reason is, simple reason is, Islam is the champion of freedom. In the time of the Holy Prophet, peace be on him, a delegate from Najran came, and after the dialogue, when they wanted to go outside for their prayer, worship, the Prophet of Islam allowed them to say prayer, their own prayer, Christian, to their own mosque. How he can say that all this should be turned down? I have with me the Charter of Freedom granted to all Christians. It is the statement of the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, peace be on him. I want to read a couple of words from that.
Yeah, it's pretty long, but just read a little
right.
sample from
yes.
it.
He said,
I was looking at it earlier. And it's
yes,
a nice statement.
He said, I promise that any monk or wayfarer who will seek my help on the mountains, in forest, desert, or habitations, or in place of worship, I will repel his enemies with all my friends and helpers. And then he says, no bishop will be expelled from his bishop, no monk from his monastery, no priest from his place of worship. How he can turn down all the places of worship? Islam is the one who protects not only mosques, places of worship of the Muslims, but synagogues, churches, and all places, Islam protects them.
Now, in many Muslim countries where there were other religions when they came in, it was common practice to levy a religious tax on non-believers, wasn't it?
No, it was not.
Did that start with Muhammad or?
No, it is not religious tax. You know, in that
dhimmi, isn't it?
Jizya. You know, in that time, it was not governments like today, all organized. You have special funds for the military. That time, to protect the rights of minorities or other faith, this was taken from them for their protection. For the protection only, because to employ the soldiers and army, things like that, it was used for them, not only money.
I guess protection money, but you're right, the context can't be directly equated with today.
No, you have to pay tax for everything. That time there was no. The taxes, even you are paying, I am paying, children are paying, men are paying, women, everybody's paying tax. So this was that tax.
Yeah. No, I mean, these are admirable statements, and I was aware of that. That was a good statement. So where does that leave the Mufti? And
room for the Mufti to teach like that?
He was a recognized authority, and he makes this pronouncement, a fatwa. I always thought of a fatwa it's a little bit like when the Pope speaks ex cathedra. This is a formal religious statement, right?
Of course, that is, you are right. That is authority. Yeah. But I am sorry to say that this was not right, and this is not Islamic teaching. And in that my article, you know, I gave some extra example also. that worship is also very important, and very important for each and every believer have to worship. Some of the mufti are given the same kind of verdict against those people who do not worship the God. They say you have to teach them. If they don't understand, you kill them. I have the books, their verdicts. They want to kill even those.
So where do they get this from then? If it's not the Quran, and I'm not saying it's the Quran, but if it's not the Quran, what?
God knows the best from where they are getting these things.
Is it just deep-seated prejudice that no one has corrected them on?
Maybe they are, but they have their own views, points, understanding of the Quranic teaching. But to our Ahmadiyya Muslim community, understand that Islam is not like that, that even you don't worship God, you just kill them. This is not the way.
No.
I think I will again repeat my statements which I have done some other time in the program also, that these are the errors which are getting among the Muslims.
Yeah.
So this is the reason Ahmadiyya Muslim stand, its founders stand to correct all these errors.
And I do believe that these are distortions or exaggerations, maybe is a better, I would be more comfortable. These are exaggerations of Islamic teaching. Yes, they shouldn't be.
I was amazed even to read that those people who are not worshipping, you teach them, you tell them, if they don't still, then you are authorized to kill them.
Now, the one thing that is very plain in the Quran, and I'd be interested in your comment on it, and again, I'll reiterate, this is a religious liberty discussion. We are committed to allowing all faiths, not allowing, it's not my right to allow, but I would defend the right of anyone to believe anything. So, you don't have to agree. But I've read the Quran, and I think there's enough calls toward tolerance to non-believers. But there's a very different language toward those who have accepted Islam and then turn against it. That can get very, very harsh, and that particularly is the cause for some edicts and fatwas recently.
I think this is the translation of the Holy Quran. Who is doing with the one who has done the translation of the Quran? Did he understand the meaning of the Quran properly? Language, so many things are there.
Well, it's a long section. There's one where the Prophet says that you offer them conversion and they come, and then they're a brother and you embrace them. But then if they turn, and then he goes into great detail about the physical punishment, to be meted out, to be killed, to be flayed.
No, the thing is, when, of course, when you accept the same faith, same religion, they are your brother. But if they turn away, means they have a rebellious attitude, and they turn against the government, and they do all these things against the policy and the law of the land that time, then you can wage the war about them to defend your faith, to defend your religion. So it is again today, if anybody stand against the USA, what USA will do?
Oh, it's a human reaction.
Then
but that is in the Quran. I mean, he's very direct.
They have to understand
the punishment and your right to act as this mullah says. You were actually called upon to violently eject them.
No, not like that. As I mentioned earlier in one of the program, that the first is you forgive them. If your forgiveness increases them in their wrong attitude and they increase in their transgressions, then you have to take action. And
that's true. That progression is there. It says you forget.
Aggression is not there.
Well, at a last resort. I think he has it as a last resort, yes. What do you think about something that is only rarely discussed, but in some ways it was the beginnings in the West of even hearing about fatwas? Remember the Khomeini issued a fatwa against Salman Rushdie for a very bad book, by the way. I read Satanic Verses, and I didn't think it was that well written, but it was found offensive, and there was a fatwa put against him.
This is again a very hard issue which many decades took place, and the fatwa was issued against him. One thing is we should realize that when the freedom is granted to you, there should be limitation of that. If freedom does not mean that you abuse the other people, that is not freedom. That is immorality, which Salman Rushdie did against the Prophet Muhammad and against Muslim and against Islamic teaching and against our dignity and honor and respect of the Prophet.
Well, I'm sure it was offensive.
Right.
Whether he meant it to be, I don't know.
Yeah. Then what Muslim did, it was also not right. Yeah. Islam does not. God will take care of him. Why you are taking care of them? No, this age.
My Bible says, "Vengeance is mine; I will repay," says God.
This time is time of pen. We say jihad of sword is done. Jihad with pen is this time. So you should use pen. You should use your own argumentation, and you should, with argument, tell them that you are wrong or you are right. Instead of, okay, so much reward will you give if you kill that person. I don't think this is Islamic way also. We, Ahmadiyya Muslim community does not agree with such an action or reaction.
I think you've made that plain, and that's very good.
Yeah.
But in some ways, you're swimming against the tide of Islam. You can discuss theology, but there's a huge tendency in the Islamic world to react in these extremist ways, and
this is what unfortunately or wrongly taken the action by the Muslims, blasphemy. They consider it blasphemy, and the person who commit the blasphemy, he should be killed. There is no room in Islam, there is no room in Quran, there is no room by the action of the Prophet of Islam that anybody committed the blasphemy against him and the Prophet allowed him to go and kill him. This is also not Islamic teaching, and Ahmadiyya Muslim community stand for that. We want to correct this error among the Muslim that there is no teaching like that.
Well, blasphemy is a very loaded sort of a charge to bring against someone.
It is happening in Pakistan.
Yes, in the New Testament, Jesus was basically rushed to judgment, being called a blasphemer by saying he was God. In the Middle Ages, the Christian Europe, that was a common crime. You could be executed for blasphemy, to speak badly of religion. So it's not unique to Islam. I think it's the sense, it's a standard sensibility of those in religious power to restrict those who might speak against religious faith. We've run out of space on our first half of the program, but please come back, join us for a further discussion of this very interesting topic.
Have you ever seen a lowly king? Kings are usually very pompous and prideful individuals, aren't they? However, Zechariah chapter 9 and verse 9 predicts the arrival of a king who would be the complete opposite. The scripture says, "Behold, your king is coming to you. He is just and having salvation, lowly and riding on a donkey, a colt, the foal of a donkey." Matthew chapter 21 and verses 5 through 10 records the identity of this lowly king to be Jesus, who rode into Jerusalem on a donkey to the cry of "Hosanna to the Son of David," as he continued his journey to the cross, where he died for you and for me to provide salvation for each one of us. What a king we have in Jesus. Amen?
Welcome back to Liberty Insider. Before the break with my guest, Iman Schamshad. I must be getting tired. It's not popping up. We were talking about many things and ended up with blasphemy, which has become a very flashpoint issue in the Islamic world. But I think I threw into the mix that the Christian world had a long run with this in medieval Europe, where the church was very hypersensitive to blasphemy, which is a thoroughly biblical model, and I know the Quran says much on it, but I think in the modern world, it's not given to us, is it, to take matters into our own hands and execute judgment on the blasphemer. They risk their eternal destiny to make light of spiritual things.
Yeah. Quran explained this thing that even you should not abuse the idols of those who worship the idols. And Quran does not say that if somebody commits the blasphemy, you take revenge from him. Yeah. And rather, it is a matter of God. God will take care of that person. Your duty is to provide freedom, and it is the time for jihad, and jihad means what Ahmadiyya Muslim community take, that with pen. If people are writing the books and you want to cut their head, it does not match anything with that.
Well, it's out of proportion, if nothing else.
Right. So what Ahmadiyya Muslim community mean is that if somebody is writing against you, pages and pages, hundreds of pages, and you say, okay, I want to cut your throat, does it match anywhere with Islamic teaching?
I would hope not.
Right, that's what I mean. So it means this is the time for pen, jihad with pen. So you write, if they are writing the books, you also write the books. That is what the Promised Messiah, the founder of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, has mentioned, that Saif ka kaam kalam se hai dikhaya humne. It is his poem, and the verdict means that the work which was shown by sword, this time we have shown it by pen. That means shining argumentation from the Quran and the example of the Prophet of Islam.
Let me ask you a question, and it just popped out into my head out of the blue, but I heard a program the other day put on by a coalition of Islamic organizations, and they were trying to untangle the puzzle of why lately so many young Islamic men are attracted to the wrong sort of jihad, what often turns out to be violent. And they made a comment, and I just would be interested in your
my comments.
Comment on what they said. They said that most times it was the end result of a family breakup or disillusionment with their own life experience, or they felt alienated if they were in another country, the culture, they were not fitting in, that it was a personal dislocation that then fitted in nicely. Someone else suggested, well, the religion says now you can do this, but they were using religion to act on what was really a personal grudge.
I think if they are saying and they are doing, maybe that is right for them, because our Ahmadiyya Muslim,
you don't have that problem,
right, that if they have this problem,
the Ahmadiyya worldview or doctrinal worldview would not lend itself to this anyhow.
If this is their problem, and because of that they are doing this thing, they know better their own
That's
home.
a very good response from
They know their home better than me.
But I just thought that was an interesting analysis.
Yeah.
And of course, I could take it further, and it just, whatever the reason, and it means that person's not thinking spiritually. They're applying human biases, in this case, frustration, and using religion to justify it.
That is true. This can be, but this is not our point of view, and we don't teach anything violence against anybody, even at our homes. At our homes, because these are the people who are learning from home, then to the madrasas, then other places. By the grace of God, in our community, Ahmadiyya Muslim community, we have missionary training college also, where I went for after my high school graduation for 7 years. I went through the comparative study of the religion, Quran, Hadith, and other faith religion. We learned there, and by the grace of God, we are learning so much so that we can preach to the world peace, love, respect, understanding, and tolerance.
Well, those things are certainly needed, and they should exist no matter what the belief system is, because they're attributes of all high-minded spiritual commitment. They're not specific to an understanding of this God or where you are when you're dead and so on. Those should be high ideals that should be in common.
Yeah. In fact, let me say it further, more detail, that not only we are in our education, we are learning tolerance and love, understanding, respect, and because of that our slogan is love for all and hatred for none. Our present Khalifa, present successor, fifth successor of the Promised Messiah, I will say he is the champion of peace this time. He wrote a letter to the President of Obama, President Israel, Prime Minister of Israel, President of Iran, and other, even Pope. And he asked them that, look to the time where we are going. The world is heading to the destruction, and it is your responsibility, all of you, to save it. Otherwise, the third world war is, clouds are there.
Well, yes, and it's probably true. Man needs to discover God before it's too late. The world is on a self-destructive path.
Last year in June, His Holiness Mirza Masroor Ahmad, the 5th successor of our founder of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, Mirza Masroor Ahmad, he visited Capitol Hill, and
I read the report.
You read the report.
He had some very good contacts, and yes, he said very good things for peace. And of course, we would hope that all religious leaders could be so moved. The Dalai Lama is often quoted as he does, going around speaking well for peace. I think all people of good faith, well, not all people, many people of good faith are able to see that the world is on a self-destructive course. And cynics, I'm sure you've heard, say that religion is part of the problem. But we people that aim at the higher spirituality of the law, we can see that it could be part of the, well, not just part, it might be the only solution.
Yeah, that's what I want to say.
Yes,
that religion is the only solution this time.
Yes.
To bring the peace in the world. And they are misunderstood the religion when they say that is a problem. No, religion did not bring any problem. It is the understanding of the people brought, and it is not the religion. So they have to get to know the real knowledge, correct knowledge. Absolutely. Of the
what I said once at a religious liberty conference to shock people, but I believe it. I got up and I said, there is way too much religion in this world. Way too much religion, but not enough spirituality.
That is good.
Because religion, in its structural sense, and some people will fight a jihad over it, and other people will bomb an abortion clinic. That is a very destructive application of religious identity. But true religion doesn't lead to that sort of thing.
You know, sometimes people don't understand what is the meaning of true spirituality. In Ahmadiyya point of view, there are two terminology are used. One is spirituality, one is morality. Spirituality means you have strong relationship with God. When you have strong relationship with God, where is the violence then?
Yeah.
The God teaches the violence then?
No.
Then that's all. So when spiritually you are closer to God, then you cannot commit the crime, you cannot commit the violence at all. And morality means that you have good relation with human beings, you respect them. In both terminology, there is no violence at all.
Absolutely. And so it's a great tragedy of all time, but particularly the modern age. The religion is so much associated with violence and conflict, and it's really a contradiction. It's not connected to its real value and goal and truest expression, is it?
You know, the people become more worldly than the godly.
It's a good quote, because that's all. I could almost think of some Bible quotes that would parallel that.
They become more worldly than the godly.
Jesus said something about the people of this world are wise in their own ways.
Yeah. So, in my own opinion, as I read the Quran or the Bible or the history of the prophets and the Prophet of Islam, I don't see anywhere at all violence. Only the people, for their own interest, they create the violence. When they are not closer to God, when they don't consider the interest of the human being, interest of the people, then such a things are happening and taking place in the world.
Yeah, very good statement. We're getting close to the end of this, the last, and I don't know which order our shows will be shown, but this is the last of our discussions. And it's been a pleasure to talk to you about these issues, and I think we'll do it again sometime. But, you know, how would you sum up the need today in the United States? Well, let's put it another way. Your community is quite numerous in the United States. Are you finding success in rising above all of the prejudices and the panic of post 9/11? Are you able to practice your faith clearly and without obstruction?
Of course, there is no doubt that after 9/11, we were also subject of this prejudice and other things, but we did not mind it because it was the natural reaction of the people. Natural reaction of the people.
Yeah.
But
and really, people that were panicked.
Yeah.
They didn't know what was happening.
And what we did, that all our area, all our missionaries and the people of the community, they went all around to see people, to talk with them, to remove their misunderstanding, misconception, telling them, although it was very difficult, it was very challenging for us to do. But we are successful by the grace of God, and we are still doing that one. And I think
so do you believe that good has come out of?
Of course, of course, it is good is coming, and it will continue to come. Our message will be to the people this time. First of all, I want to thank you inviting me to this program, which is very important and which provide the liberty and the freedom of faith to exercise. And I think it is the hallmark and theme should be of all faith and religion. And my point is that let us maintain respect of others. Let us come closer to each other so that we should understand each other. We should not remain and live in ignorance so that we don't know our neighbor, we don't know the faith of other people, what they are doing. I think, may God bless you all, and love for all, hatred for none.
On one occasion, some of the disciples of Jesus, offended at the local reaction, said to the Lord, you know, shouldn't we bring the fire of God down from heaven and destroy these people? Jesus said no. And I think the reply is the same today. Nobody, whether they're Christian, certainly Muslim, or anybody of faith, is justified in bringing down destruction and calling upon a hate reaction for a spiritual situation. Our world has too much violence today. We need dialogue between religions. We need understanding. We certainly don't need a syncretistic response, but we need people of faith to realize that violence, coercion is inimical to true faith and certainly antagonistic to any sort of a concept of religious liberty for all people. For Liberty Insider, this is Lincoln Steed.